When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. This is race number 21, the 2025 season, coming to you today from Indianapolis. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Marty Zakala. Howie Burrows is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Marty, we already have one show in our back pocket tonight, but we go from the trucks at Dover a little bit earlier on this evening to the Xfinity Cars at Indy. I don't think there could be more of an abrupt transition if we tried.
There's just something different about this place here, Ron. The moment you roll through the gates at Indianapolis, it feels like you're carrying a century of racing history on its shoulders. It's not just another track. This is the Brickyard. Fast, flat, unforgiving. If you want to win here, you've got to be nearly perfect. Drivers will dance the fine line. You got to push hard enough to gain ground, but not so hard that you overdrive a corner and kill your run. Strategy always in play. You could pit before a stage ends. You can make a gutsy 2-tire call or survive a late race chaos in turn 1.
Yeah, I think as we get a little bit farther along in this race, we are going to go from seeing these racers be energized, ready to rock and roll, ready to get the final stretch of races before the end of this regular season. We're going to see them be energetic at the start and then have that slowly but surely deteriorate. I would make a whistling sound of a bomb dropping, but I cannot whistle even though I'm nearly 20. I say nearly 20, I'm nearly 21 actually. But as I forget my own age, we see these racers ripping around this racetrack, and we get to see these racers run on the ragged edge of control here at Indy. There is no track like it in the world. There was one track like it in the world in California back in the 70s, but they tore it down back in 1980, and it's now about... The old site of it actually is about 2.5 miles away from where Auto Club used to be. But before I go off on California racetracks that are no longer with us, Marty, we just have to talk about the challenges here at Indy.
Yeah, absolutely. The big challenges, I feel like, in my opinion, are car handling and exit speed. That's one of the big things. Maintaining exit speed here off the corners in turns 1 and 3 into the chutes are key. Drivers must avoid overdriving the entry or scrubbing speed in the corner. Sticking the car low through the turn, getting a strong run down the long straightaways is often the fast approach. You cannot run the high line through the corners. It can sometimes generate extra momentum if traffic allows, but the exit grip and the track position here, they remain paramount.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see a lot of strategy content play a role in this race coming up here this evening as well. A reminder to those tuning into this series here for the first time, we run full-length Xfinity Series races here every single Friday night, broadcasted exclusively here on Maconi Entertainment. We've had a great season up to this point. 250 miles is the race length here this evening. Stage breaks going to come at you quick at lap number 30, lap number 60, and of course we're going to be running all the way until lap 100, half of 500 here for this race, and it's gonna be a fun one, and it will be a challenging test of these drivers' skill, their patience, and their tenacity throughout this season. We have to think about the point that I raised a couple of moments ago, the fact we are rapidly approaching upon the end of this regular season. After this, there's only gonna be 5 more races left until we hit the end, hit the start of the playoffs. We've got Iowa coming up in 1 week's time, Watkins Glen, Daytona, Portland, and Gateway to bring this regular regular season to a close. And of course, Bristol, Kansas, the Charlotte Roval, Las Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix to bring this season to a close. And you'll be able to catch all of that action every single Friday night here on Maconi Entertainment from now through to the end of the season, October 31st. Halloween night is the round off of this season, so set to have a spooky end to it here in 2025 for the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast, if you enjoyed tonight's coverage, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But with the warm-up session squared away, we can switch off to qualifying and take a look at tonight's starting grid. And starting this race from the pole position is going to be Adam Benefiel, your race winner last time out at Dover. He's going to lead this field to green. His old adversary, Bryson Hixenball, will join him on the front row. Looking right behind them in P3 and P4, it's Cameron Stone, the 57 machine, and Eddie Rose in the 46, starting this race in fourth. Looking right behind them at your third row in P5 and P6 will be Kirk Mills, one of our Maconi Entertainment colleagues. Next to Joseph McWhorter, the winner at Pocono a couple of months ago. He will start this race in P6. I think we may have to burn through this rather quickly. Nick Stein will start this race in P7 alongside Edward Scherer Jr. in 8th. Looking right behind them and rounding out your top 10 will be Hunter Truel and Kyle Amon.
Mason Lowry starts 11th in car number 42. To his outside, it's Mark Paget driving the 02. Then in row 7, Connor Cunningham and Matthew Wheeler. Row number 8, last driver to take time, Tanner Marty. To his outside, determined by I rating, is Johnny Avila. Then you go forward to row number 9. You've got Tim Phillips and Michael Prachek. And rounding out the top 20 in the field this evening, ignore Jason Taylor. He's race control. That's Daniel Llewellyn starting from 19th.
And looking right behind them, it's Steve Benjamin and Timothy Cook Jr. in 21st and 22nd. Looking right behind them, it's Ken Ron and Brian Workman in 23rd and 24th. And rounding out your field is going to be Rory Collins in the 39, starting this race in P25. As we see the field trundling their way around this racetrack, the calm before the storm of a 100-lap long race, Marty, that is set to be in barn burner, is probably going to be one of the most challenging ones of the entirety of this season.
Absolutely. 100 laps, stages ending at laps 30 and 60, like you said. And the race could eliminate some people by the time we end the first stage, because the fuel window here at Indianapolis is 30 laps. Drivers could play some strategy where they could be saving fuel early if they want to go to the full 30 laps, or they could maybe possibly short pit, because 4 tires and fuel, that'll just put you likely about a full track behind just about, because you've got about 50 seconds to use. It's not a lot of time you have down pit road, so easy time to stay on the lead lap and try and flip the stage and get the track position to begin stage number 2 or maybe even stage 3 at the same time.
Yeah, so once we get to the end of this race, we're really going to start to see things shake out and get a good idea as to who's going to be contending for the win at the end of it. But at the front of the field, we have got multiple time race winners from this season. Adam Benefiel, off the back of his 3rd win thus far in this championship and his first since Darlington back in April. He's going to be leading this field to green. Bryson Hixenball, though, he has gotten 6 wins up to this point in this season. The dominant driver, to be sure. Both of your only multi-time race winners from this point in the season going to be making up your front row as they enter the start zone. And we are racing here at Indianapolis. The green flag is out and the drivers are on their way. A good start from Benefiel. Another good one from Hixenball, but Benefiel taking advantage of that inside line, gonna lead them off down into turn number 1. Look at Eddie Rose trying to get to the back bumper of the 63 as well. They head their ways through the south chute for the first time into 2, and Benefiel holding on to the lead still.
Well, they survived the first half of the lap. Turns 1 and 2. Turn 1 can be a trouble spot on restarts. Now it's going to be tough for the drivers. Second on back. Entering in dirty air can really make the rear end step out into turn 3.
As they had their way into the north end of the track through 3, one of the most challenging turns around this racetrack, maybe exactly the same as the others, but it's caught out many racers over the years. We take a look at the side-by-side fight between Eddie Rose and Joseph McWhorter as they had their way onto the start-finish straightaway. Benefiel going to lead the first lap here at Indy, but the fight for 3rd is still going to be hot.
Yeah, McWhorter, Eddie Rose duking at it because they're side-by-side. The top 2 going to get a big gap there, and Eddie Rose really tight into turn number 1. A lot of understeer in that number 46. Loses a spot to Kirk Mills, Mr. DW there in that 69. But a long train going down the back chute, and that's what we're going to see a lot of here today at Indianapolis in these stock cars. A lot of train racing. Got to rely on the draft and also rely on 4 perfect corners.
Yeah, gotta rely on your car's handling and rely on your confidence as well. If you are unconfident here at Indianapolis, there is one word to describe what you are going to be in, and that is trouble. Look at this sideways moment from Mills through 4. He still holds on to it, occupying the final spot inside the top 5. That's a dangerous game to play. Not only are you at risk of smacking the wall, you're also probably going to burn up your tires really quickly. And in a series like this where tire management is oh so important throughout this race, you want to keep those tires on your good side.
Yeah, you definitely do. These Xfinity cars getting 4 sets of tires here this evening, trying to manage a 100-lap race. This track doesn't really use a lot of tires. However, though, on the right side, this place is abrasive, even on the oval layout. Yeah, like I said, you'll see drivers later on during pit stops. Sometimes some drivers will take the strategy and go for 2. Others will play it safe and sorry and go for the full 4 tires and fuel.
And you know, I will say, and this is honest, whenever I think about how abrasive of a surface it is, I get terrible flashbacks to the 2005 United States Grand Prix, but after I said that, there's probably now going to be a war in the YouTube chat here for this show. So we'll jump back to the racing action and follow.
Yeah, there's something worse, Ron. There's something worse. 2008 Brickyard 400.
Oh yeah, that's you know, of all the options I could pick in terms of tire disasters here at Indy, I think I may have actually picked the one that would give the least amount of people in the YouTube stream flashbacks here. So I think that may have actually been a good call for me to mention 2005 Indy, even though that gives me flashbacks myself. But we continue on with the racing action. Just about everybody has single-filed, except for a couple of drivers that we see side by side heading their way off into the turn. Look at that. That's some very close battling. This is fighting off through the north end of the track, but just about everybody else has decided to settle this race into a groove.
Yeah, Joe McWhorter, the biggest mover already, up 3 positions. It's not surprising seeing not a lot of drivers make a lot of gains here early, because the thing is, starting near the front, very vital here at Indianapolis. First off, you normally get the best pit stall choices when you're amongst the top 6 qualifiers, but a front row spot also helps you avoid mid-pack traffic throughout the long straights and the unique pit layout, because it's a very thin road in terms of width. So front row has remained unchanged from the drop of the green flag here.
Yeah, so those 2 at the north end of this field keeping it smooth. Adam Benefield still leads over Bryson Ixenball. Ooh, that was a bit of a block as they had their way down the backstretch off into turn number 3. That was Matthew Boston Wheeler thrown in, maybe looking to get a move done down the inside of Mason Lowry right in front, but Michael Praychick in the 3 gonna feel that block and feel the burn as he headed his way at the end of that back straightaway. Already 5 laps on the board of this 100-lap long race. Just about everybody is still keeping it smooth and not trying to push the limit of adhesion, the limit of control, and the limit of yourself in the early stages of this race. Indy is a long race in its own regard. 250 miles is a race length for these drivers here this evening, so really no point throwing caution to the wind so early on.
Yeah, just at this point in the race, you really want to play it safe than sorry, get a feel for your car, just hit your marks really at the same time. Don't want to get too aggressive here in the corners, or else Indianapolis will bite you, just like it did to Miles the Monster when he bit so many people on Fast Fridays not too long ago here. So, but right now, closest battle I'm seeing on the racetrack per gap, Edward Shearer Jr., Nick Stein. Good race for 8th on the racetrack. Stein a slow start after starting 7th. He's dropped in the 9th spot. Shearer Jr. has stayed 8th throughout this race so far in the opening laps. We'll see what Stein can do, if he can make a move or not.
As we look at these racers still contesting this racetrack and trying to find the groove, trying to find exactly what they can do with their race cars as well. If there's any track in the world that you want to know exactly how your race car is feeling and how you're feeling about your race car, I would say India's probably up at the tippy top of the list. If you're not confident in your car, you're either going to end 2 ways. You're either going to be painfully slow and drop down like a rock, or you're going to hit the wall, which will feel like a rock when you run off into it. So,
yeah,
not really a good track to be uncomfortable around.
Yeah, I feel like, Ron, we just had one in the wall, actually, just a couple of moments ago. I believe that may have been Ammon in the 17, but you have to be really aware of your telemetry, not just in the race, but from practice. So those that may have a couple extra telemetry windows open may be able to use that to their advantage. Got to leverage that real-time telemetry. Know what the track temp data is at the same time. Track temp actually right now, as things stand, is at 93 degrees. But you figure that out. That could make a split-second decision on when to pit, whether it be flipping the stage or waiting until coming on in between stages 1 and 2. So trying to adapt throughout the race is definitely critical, but also relying on what your car and the track is doing right now.
And one more thing to raise, talking about the challenges of this race here this evening, is the longest race we've had in the Friday Night Lights world since the Atlanta race back on June 27th. So it's been about a month since we have seen a race over 200 miles long. Last time out at Dover was 200 miles on the dot. So it's been a little while. It's been a test of these racers in recent weeks, running on a wide variety of racetracks, the back-to-back road courses of the Chicago Street Course and Sonoma, being followed immediately by Dover, which frankly I would say is bumpier than Sonoma and only a little bit less bumpy than the Chicago Street Course, incidentally, but it's been a little while since these racers have really had a marathon race to look forward to here, but it will certainly be a marathon today and tonight, as we see. And right on board with your third place runner right now of Joseph McWhorter, trying to reel in Bryson Ixabal and make sure that driver, the number 63 car, doesn't drive too far off into the sunset. But if he does push and pushes a little bit too hard and pushes himself into a mistake, Cameron Stone will be right there in the 57 to pick up the pieces.
You know, I'm right on board with the driver behind him on my end, and Cameron Stone actually just about hitting the rev limiter into turns 1 and 3 because of the draft he's getting with getting a lot of speed. But again, it's just really tough to pass in this dirty air at a track like Indianapolis. Like, you could easily tell the difference between racing without restricted plates and that one time when the Xfinity Series did have plates on it, Indy. I think it was 2018 when they had it. Obviously, now a lot of people don't like plates because you don't get the true power of the race car, but sometimes it helps where it does help at a track like Indianapolis. But right on board with Stone here too at the same time. A little bit surprised that some drivers are not downshifting into third. It's probably because you want to stay in fourth gear. I know in like the Cup car and the next gen of Indy, you can easily shift down to fourth, especially on the long run, trying to grab a gear. I wonder if we may see that later on in stage 1.
And some things that we have learned in the first 11 minutes of this race to try and keep tabs on over the next 89 laps here tonight. Cameron Stone, we've right on board with him still, heading his way off through the backstretch into turn number 3. I may be a little bit biased because I'm an IndyCar guy, but I absolutely adore the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. One of the few tracks from this season that I've actually gotten the opportunity to visit in real life. And incidentally, we're actually locked in a stretch of the schedule of 3 straight tracks that I've visited in person. Dover, which is my hometown. Oh no! Big wall contact with the 71. That was Hunter Truex with the smack.
Yeah, Truex just got really tight there in 3 and 4 up on the second groove, dealing with the car next to him. That was the 10 of Shearer Jr. I think what happened was Truex just tried to get on the gas a little bit too early, clipped the ending of that safety barrier, and loses a pair of spots. But now I wonder what that's going to do to his aero, because at a track like Indy, aerodynamics is very key when you're going with fast speeds and tough to handle in the corners too.
Yeah, so big moment for Truex. He headed his way out of turn number 4, just skating up into that outside safer barrier. Thankfully for him, though, I think he got away with that rather scot-free. These Xfinity cars can be a little bit sensitive at certain points in time, can be easy to damage, but Truex, very fast racer, won the Dash for Cash a little bit earlier on this season twice at Talladega in Texas.
Sideways
see
again.
That same performance. We just saw a big moment from him behind at a sideways, side to side, side by side moment into turn number 1. That's Eddie Rose looking to get that spot on Kirk Mills and gets it done successfully to jump his way up into the top 5. I think we saw a sideways snap from Mills out of 4. That just gave the 46 of Rose a perfect opportunity to jump up the spots.
Yeah, taking a quick look at the 69 on my end. Mills a little bit too high, and yeah, caught the back end out just a little bit. Had the left there to try and save the car. Eddie Rose able to take advantage and move up to that 5th position. Behind them, Truex continuing to lose spots. Connor Cunningham now up in the 10th position in the 78.
Yeah, and looking at these racers make some gains in the early stages. Looking at another sideways snap there. I feel like these racers are starting to struggle for grip. As look at that, that's Hunter Truex making that call to come down pit lane. I wonder if that was necessarily...
yeah, internet problems off the 71. I think that's the deal here.
Yeah, I was wondering as to whether or not that was an intentional call to come down pit lane because he had a huge sideways moment.
And Truex disconnected.
Turn number 3, yeah, Hunter Truex out of this race. So I think it was an intentional call to come down pit lane. Obviously unintentional for his internet to give at, though.
Yeah, tough situation there at the moment. As watched some other racing. Brian Wortman, I believe, battling with Ken Ron for 17th on the racetrack. But I mean, I don't know. A lot of eyes are focused up front, but I know the most important spot to be in is in the race lead, and Benefield is just checked out. 2.5 second advantage on Bryson Hickson-Baugh, Joe McWhorter on back.
As it looks like things have just about settled out here on the racetrack. Everyone's trying to form their own groove, get into their own sort of jive here in this race, as here comes a move from Brian Wortman. This will be a swapperoo for P17 as himself and Ken Ron side by side heading over the yard of bricks down into turn number 1. And survey says, will it be a successful move? The 33 of Ron nearly skating up the track. And there goes the 35 of Brian Wortman to jump his way up to P17. What I was going to say, though, before we start to see the things really unravel for the 71 of Hunter Truex, currently in a 3-week stretch of races, of tracks that I've been to in person. Of course, last time out we had Dover, today here at Indianapolis, and then Iowa Speedway, which, despite being in the city of Philadelphia, I have been to that track on several occasions. It's very, very nice out there, and the lady who worked at the gift shop back in 2016, very nice lady, gave me some die-cast cars back when I was a kid.
What track was this, he said?
Iowa Speedway.
Oh, Iowa Speedway? I've never been there. I feel so bad for what happened in the IndyCar race, but I know they're doing great things with NASCAR, obviously with it being owned by NASCAR. But Indy, I don't have plans yet, but I'm actually looking to go in here in December because they got the big PRI show out there in Indy, which is a big racers expo. But if I do go there, I will also have plans to go tour IMS and go check out the museum.
You know, that's one thing that I'm a little bit upset about. I have not gone to see the new Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. I have been here in 2016, 2017, 2021, and 2022. And of course, the brand new museum, the refurbished museum, I should say, they opened that up back in May. So haven't gotten the opportunity to come back out to Indy since 2022 on my way back from the SCCA Solo Nationals down in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is the exact same trip that I would use as an excuse to go to Iowa Speedway. That was a huge moment from Cameron Stone through turn number 1. We're really starting to see these drivers begin to struggle. As we get further along into this run, we're going to get a better idea as to who is really feeling what in their race cars.
Yeah, you know, some drivers having a tough time at the exits of the corners. Some drivers getting a little bit squirrely. I got to give credit to the drivers here, though, because not a lot of them are really getting tight. As I say that, the 57 of Stone getting tight. Because, remember, this track eats up the right front badly. You look at the Cup races back in 2020, for example, and how many right front flat tires we had, like Denny Hamlin, as Stone cracked the wall there once again, rose him to get a slipstream. If he is able to pounce here on the back, so he may have a chance going down the back chute. He'll try and set this up here on the south end of the racetrack.
Yeah, I think Eddie Rose is feeling racy as that's a big moment from the 57, sideways, slideways as he headed his way through turn number 1, smacks the wall, and through goes Rose to jump his way up into P4, pressuring him into a moment, pressuring him into a mistake, and hey, it worked out as a pretty good strategy as he's made up a spot in Cameron Stone. Now going to drop back. He's very thankful that there is a significant cushion between himself and Kirk Mills, who's actually locked steady in a close battle with himself, and the 10 of Edward Scherer Jr., so battle for P6 going on right now with Mills a little bit sideways through 3.
Yeah, so Rose definitely improving with the car here late in the going. I wonder if he saved the tire on that Premier Racing set to be on the Team Connie ride, or maybe even saved some fuel at the same time so that way he can go the distance here in stage 1. But Rose's car starting to come to life. Scherer Jr.'s ride starting to come to life here as he's now through to 6th after starting in the 8th spot. Has Kirk Mills cleared, and we'll see what other drivers can do here. Biggest mover at the moment, we showed him earlier, Wortman up 5 spots, and then up 3, McWhorter, Connor Cunningham, Mike Prachik, Steve Benjamin, and Ken Rondo.
Yeah, so some drivers clearly deciding to make hay while the sun is shining and get some moves done. Others haven't gotten off to the best of starts, but hey, we're still early doors into this race here. For race number 21 of the 2025 Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series season, Adam Benefield still leads over Bryson Exaball. Joseph McWhorter, Eddie Rose, and Cameron Stone round out your top 5. But our attention is on this fight involving Scherer Jr. and Kirk Mills. It's been a swapperoo between those two. The 69 car, nice, of Kirk Mills dropping down to 7th. Scherer Jr. making his way up into P6, but the fighting will still not be over yet. I think Kirk Mills will still have to battle a little bit hard as Nick Stein in the 59 going to close up to the 69, nice, of Kirk Mills.
Yeah, Mills hanging onto that car really sideways in turn 2, so we'll lose some time to the 10 of Scherer Jr. Allows Nick Stein to try and close in, see if he can get a crack at the 7th position at the moment. Closest battle on track, well, let's go back to 16th. Brian Wortman starting to have a good race car against Steve Benjamin in the race for 16th.
Yeah, so the fighting really going on all throughout this field as you see Wortman running there in the coattails of that car of Steve Benjamin. Down into turn number 3. Goes a little bit farther up the road is a 53 of Benjamin. Here comes Wortman for a move into turn number 4. Don't usually see a driver go for something like that, and doesn't look like he will go for a move like that into turn number 4. We'll keep an eye on this battle still. They head their way down that start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. Will we see the 35 go for a move to jump his way up to P16? Survey says we will not, but that 53 running a little bit on the high end. He's just running high enough whereby he's not getting the best exit of the world. Okay, I was thinking at first we had a mass UFO alien abduction, but no, Steve Benjamin still out there on the racetrack. Wortman actually losing some time, big time, through the south chute.
Yeah, Wortman's a guy that knows these race cars. He's crewed on them in the past in real life in the past few seasons on with the drivers that normally are near the back, the drivers that are the underdogs, and so he knows these cars very well. Sometimes gets advice from the drivers and the crew guys on how to race them on iRacing, and it normally provides to be a success here, and he's off to a good start, up 5 spots. Just had a change meanwhile for 7th. Stein passed Kirk Mills. So I wonder if Mills maybe used up the tires here with 8.5 laps to go here in stage 1. He definitely wants a caution flag.
And getting to the end of this stage here, so these drivers may decide to turn up the wick a little bit as we get to the end of that. Of course, the stage breaks here in this series do not come at the start of lap 30. They come at the end of lap 30, and the same will be said for stage 2, where that break will be at 60, and then running all the way through to the checkered flag here in this race here tonight on Maconi Entertainment. Battling's still going to be going on all throughout this field.
Yeah, but we got a race for second developing. Joe McWhorter all over Bryson Hicksonbaugh for the 2 spot. This is going to be interesting here in the end. Now the thing that I'm keeping a close eye on here is now that we're on lap number 23, you got to make the decision up till lap 29 when the pits close here in stage 1. Do you decide to go for tires, 2 tires or 4, and flip the stage to get the track position for stage 2? Or do you want maybe a lap or 2 or so of fresher tires? Do you go for the stage win? Do you go for the playoff point here in this situation? Try and get the stage points if you're looking towards trying to make it in via the points.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as we get to the end of this regular season, we may see some of these competitors decide to prioritize that points run. I will say, though, the 63 of Hicksonbaugh briefly, as you can see, both of them sideways out of 4, briefly blinking out. You can see another sideways snap a little bit farther behind involving Eddie Rose. But no, we saw a brief blink in and out there from Hicksonbaugh, We'll hope to try and keep those issues down to a minimum. We've already had one driver drop out of this race. I don't think we want a second one to drop out because of some connection issues here, but we keep an eye on them heading their way through turn number 2. McWhorter and Hicksonball still close together. Hicksonball pulling a little bit through the south end of the track. I think in the south section through turns 1 and 2 and through the south chute, that's where Hicksonball gains some time, but then heading down the straightaways off into the north end, that's where McWhorter gains it right back.
Yeah, that's a good point. Here's how I'm looking at things here at the end of the stage. If you're Joe McWhorter, if you want the playoff point, extra playoff point to help you towards the postseason, take it. But if I'm like drivers like Kirk Mills, who is currently running 8th, or Mark Padgett, currently running 11th at the moment, they are 2 points below and above the cut line respectively. You're going for all the stage points you want, so you're probably going to stay out and try and go the entire 30 laps and make sure you get those stage points. Finish in the top 10. Because there will be drivers inside this top 10 that will pit before the end of stage 1 from my looks at things.
Be in that Goldilocks zone, be inside the top 10. And right now, the final driver holding on to a spot inside the top 10, actually Connor E. Cunningham, the driver of the number 78. Didn't see him really at all throughout this season until a couple of weeks ago. But ever since he joined the championship, he's been a very interesting driver to keep tabs on. The same could be said about the 10 of Edward Sherrod Jr., a P6 runner, won at the Chicago Street Course a couple of weeks ago, and is holding on to a very nice spot as it stands presently. We'll just have to see what sort of pace he has once we get into later stages of this race. But McWhorter all over the back of Bryson Hicksonball. May see a move potentially as he looks for it on the inside down the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. Not close enough is the driver the number 73 yet. Keyword being yet.
At the same time, Kyle Hammond side by side with Kirk Mills for the 8th spot. Makes me wonder here if Kirk is actually saving a little fuel so we get to go the distance here in stage number 1. Surprising though to see nobody yet to take the risk and come in to try and flip the stage and get that track position to start at the front of the field in stage 2. McWhorter, the side draft off for Hicksonball, and he nearly squeezed Hicksonball up in the safer barrier. McWhorter through to 2nd.
Yeah, so McWhorter wheeling that car around the 63 of Hicksonball. We've now got the 83, the 73, and the 63 all running nose to tail. There are people who are going to be very much so enjoying that tuning into this broadcast. I know I certainly are.
Steve Benjamin, you got work to do.
Yeah, we'll have to see Steve Benjamin make his way up the running order. Who knows? Maybe come time for the stage pit stop. So we'll have here in the not too far off future. May see that car gain a whole lot of space just thanks to a nice little blue bottle by the engine, hooked up with some couple of wires. And whenever he presses a button inside that car, gains an extra 50 horsepower. We'll just have to wait and see how that'll all work out there.
So we're coming to 3 laps to go here in the stage. At this point on, pretty much, it's like you gotta pit here if you want to try and flip the stage going into stage number 2, or if you're trying to wait between stages 2 and 3. Let's see if we have some takers here. Wouldn't be surprised if Hicksonball decides to flip the stage, but I haven't heard anyone say that they are coming in or not here at the end of stage 1.
Looks like Hicksonball is going to stay out. I would be a fan of that call if he decides to come down pit lane, try and throw something else at the wall. We saw it last time out for Bryson Hicksonball at Dover. Really did not see the pace that we usually see from your top-seeded driver in the playoff standings as it stands currently. Didn't see that from him last time at Dover as a big curb, not big curb whack, a big wall whack. That'd be a pretty high curb. A big wall whack there from Kirk Mills, scraping up against the wall. I think we're starting to see that number 69 car really drop down like a rock. He was running in P5 not terribly long ago, then got some moves put on him. He's now in P9 right now. The only thing that's keeping him outside the top 10 is the fact that Connor E. Cunningham is well farther back. You can see the gap between those cars, about a second on the road as it stands currently, coming up to the end of the stage. So I think Kirk Mills, unless he has some sort of major disaster befall him in the next couple of laps, look like he will remain inside of the top 10 at P9. But as we get to the end of the stage, we start to see these racers turn up the wick.
All right, so now the pits are closed. Nobody can pit under green flag for the rest of the stage. So that means everybody's going to be coming in under the stage 1 yellow. So signs are good. Outlook good for Adam Bennerfield to take the playoff points here. Cameron Stone, Ed Shearer Jr. still racing for 5th. Connor Cunningham still at the final stage point by 1.7 seconds on Mark Padgett.
And Paget still trying to make up some spots as it stands right now, but here we go. Here's Scherer Jr. in the coattails of Cameron Stone. Will we see a move? We will not see a move from him down into turn number 3. Scherer Jr. Try and hold on to the spot and get a good run here in this stage. We go back to that points discussion. These drivers may try and prioritize that good points haul here in the stages. Indy is a track that can bite you badly, so I think just being at the end of this race, at the end of 100 laps, will be an achievement in its own regard for these racers. Will we see a move into turn number 1? We will see a move. Scherer Jr. sticking on the inside of the 57 of Stone. That is very risky, but he looks like he's going to try and get it done. They're side by side, nose to tail, and practically even as they head their way through the South Chute. Here we go from Scherer. Holds on to that inside. It looks like he'll clear Cameron Stone. Now, you look at Nick Stein. He caught up to these drivers now within the draft of Stone. Don't think we'll see a battle for the end of this stage involving the number 59 of Stein, as we are getting to the point where Adam Benefiel bets across the line to win stage number 1 here, but this fight for P6 is still going to be intense. P5, P6, and P7 looks like they will remain as they are line astern. They head their way out of turn number 4. Looks like Edward Scherer Jr. will occupying the final spot inside the top 5. Cameron Stone in 6th. Nick Stein in 7th. Kyle Amon, Kirk Mills, and Connery Cunningham go around to top 10 at the end of the first stage, which was very clean and very well composed.
Absolutely. Great to see stage 1 go green to checker without any big issues. The only major situation we had, Hunter Trill bouncing off the wall, then coming down pit road and DNFing from this race. So there are your drivers that receive the stage points after 30 laps. And I believe we're at the point where pit road is about to be open here for stage 1, or if not, they're going to let them wait another lap to catch up to the pace car.
Yeah, we may potentially have another lap here. Yeah, you will.
Yeah, pit road is closed.
Yeah, very, very spread out is this field. They were spread out once that yellow came out, so just waiting for them to pack in together like sardines. But I'm curious if it's at all possible. Can we load up the graphic with the championship point standings, the playoff standings heading into this race? Because it's looking rather interesting with only 5 races left to go here in the regular season. That's how it stands. 8 drivers have locked their way into the points with a pretty good result last time out. Cameron Stone was able to break up into the top 25 in the points to be able to jump his way back up into playoff contention. You can see 8 drivers currently locked in, only 2 of them with multiple wins. Hicksonball and Benefiel have taken the lion's share up to this point. Everybody else, whether they're part-timer or full-timer, have only scored 1 win, and I wonder if that streak will run all the way through to the end of the regular season. Hunter Truel, top of the drivers, currently inside the playoffs, but not locked in with a win. 135 is the current points tally for him, but will be very close with that battle at the bubble. 2 points between Mark Paget, the first driver in, and Kirk Mills, the first driver out. So as we think about Mills and Paget running rather close to each other on the racetrack, we will have to think about that playoff discussion.
Yeah, that'll be the one to keep your eye on here, and everybody's coming in now. Now the big question is to get the track position, 2 tires, change to the right size, or you decide to go all 4. Right now, in stage 1, you know how your car is feeling, you go 4. If you feel like your car is good, but you're stuck in that track position, take the gamble and go for 2.
Yeah, let's see who's going to decide to go for that gamble, roll the dice, and see if they can make it work. And who else is going to say, you know what, I'm good. I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to throw something major at the wall and see what sticks. Because frankly, I don't want to clean up my walls or the floor as a result of all of it. Let's see, I'm trundling their way down into their pit stall. Looks like everybody from my eye shot has hit their marks perfectly in their pit stall. Let's see who's going to come in first. Will anybody take 2? Is everyone just going to stick to 4? Up on the jacks, most of these racers go. That's a blink out there from Cameron Stone. What has happened to the driver of the 57? He's back up there. Benefiel gonna lead him out of the pits. Stone with a slow run. He exits out in P5. I wonder if he accidentally held that escape or what and accidentally popped out of that car for a couple of moments. That or he just blinked away and blinked back into existence shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I think it may have been an internet issue off of the 57. Joe McWhorter, though, the worst stop out of everybody, though. as he's now stuck down in the 6th position at a pit stop. So not what he wanted. Is looks he's got a really fast car, especially in the long run. That's not the stop he wanted, but big win for Eddie Rose though on pit road as he's up to 3rd. And same for Ed Shearer Jr. 4th.
Yeah, that is a huge gain for him. So, yeah, let's just see what Stage 2 can bring for us here tonight for race number 21 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at Maconi Entertainment. If you're enjoying the action, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. Going to be getting this race restarted either next time by or the time after next, and it will be Benefield and Hicksonball in their usual spot in P1 and P2. Hicksonball, though, I want to see something more from the driver, the number 63. Didn't have the pace last time at Dover, and based off the performance in Stage 1, doesn't really have the pace here in Stage 2. You know, it's funny. We see a driver running in solidly inside the top 3 all throughout the first stage, and we're like, man, we're just not really seeing the pace from him. That really speaks volumes about the kind of driver Hicksonball has been up to this point in the season.
Yeah, definitely been a tough deal there for Hicksonball there in Stage 1. I think it's just he's got to be better in the corners, and I feel like as well when we come back to start Stage 2, he just has to time this restart absolutely picture perfectly. Just try and stay side by side through the corners. If he can get a nice push from somebody down the back straight, he may be able to get the race lead.
And if he is able to get the race lead, let's see what he will be able to do. You know, a track like this, if you pick up that race lead, you get the clean air, you may find yourself in the very realistic position of being able to say, you know what? Thank you very much for the clean air. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And just pulling off into the sunset. I would not be shocked if we end up seeing one driver say, you know what? I like this clean air. And then their car all of a sudden gains about a half a second a lap.
Yeah, who knows what'll happen here to begin Stage 2, but, you know, not bad of a start to this one. How will the changes go for the drivers? Did they make any tire pressure changes with the way the track has turned out? Look at that pit stop times. Everybody basically did 4 tires and fuel, which is not surprising.
So seeing the varied strategy calls from these racers up and down the field, and we will see how it's all going to work out in this second stage. Same length as the first, going to be running to the end of lap 60 to ring in stage number 2, though. We're about to get this race up, back, and rolling with Benefield and Hicksonball occupying your front row. Eddie Rose and Edward Scherer Jr. occupying row 2. I feel like they may be some dark horses to talk about here in this race. And speaking of that playoff battle, Kirk Mills and Mark Badgett, they're going to be occupying row 5 together. So I wonder if there may be some fisticuffs that break out there. Pace cars come down pit lane. The field now back in the hand of our front row through the restart zone. They're going to go, and Benefield back on the gas. We're racing once again here at Indy, and it looks like Benefield going to get off to a flyer.
Yeah, Benefield is gone, and that's not the restart Hicksonball wanted, because Eddie Rose was able to know the restart when Benefield went, and he takes advantage of it. He's up to second highest spot he's been in this race so far.
Keeping it going, keeping it smooth at the front of the field is Benefield. Looking at the drivers throwing some haymakers and some blocks a little bit farther behind. Rose getting off to a good one up into P2. Hicksonball trying to get his bearing straight in this race. The driver, the number 63, who has 6 wins up to this point, running in P3, so that may not be a good spot for him to be in right now. I'm sure there's probably something up the sleeve for all of these racers. Hicksonball certainly no exception, but McWhorter is right there within striking distance. May see a battle between those two in the not too far off future, because Joseph McWhorter, I think he is here to do well in this race. Last time we were running on a 2.5 mile track, he was able to win it at Pocono. Let's see what the driver, the number 73, could do.
Yeah, remember, Pocono has some similarities to Indianapolis, not just the long straights, but also remember because of turn 2, which is resembled just like Indy. So there could be some similarities that McWhorter could take to his advantage. Here he goes for the 3rd spot.
Here we go. Will it be a move from McWhorter on Hicksonball? It is a move from McWhorter on Hicksonball. He jumps up into 3rd, but he has a big sideways snap out of turn number 3. So he moves up to P3. That nearly dies coming out of T3. So thankfully for the driver of the 7-3, he's able to remain in P3. I'm going to shut my mouth.
Yeah, he had to catch it there so he would avoid hitting the wall, and McWhorter stays put there in that third position. Wow, Cameron Stone, Edward Shearer Jr. in 6th. Nick Stein, Kyle Ammon battling for 7th. Good to see Ammon up inside the top 10. Kirk Mills stuck in 9th, and Mark Padgett, he's into the top 10 after the pit stop there.
Look at these racers just about single filed out all throughout this field. I wonder who's going to be the next to feel the pressure and who's going to be the next to give the pressure. I think if I had to hypothesize here, it would probably be Eddie Rose feeling the pressure and feeling the burn from the 73 of McWhorter. You can see Eddie Rose scraping the walls. He heads his way out of turn at number 3. Those cuts in the safer barrier, pretty much the only reason why the Indy 500 doesn't result in a minefield of scrapped IndyCar tubs. And you can see him taking liberties with those sections of the track. There was Eddie Rose trying to chase down Benefield, who's back up in the groove, running strong at the front. Rose, though, trying to find any way in the book to hold on to P2 because he's got a very racy driver in the form of Joseph McWhorter running right within striking distance. Any mistake from Rose, the 7-3 would be there to pounce.
Well, Rose nearly had one there in the center of turn 2 as that rear end was fishtailing. And luckily, the Team Conti driver was able to catch it there, so hanging on to that for right now. Shearer Jr. still putting pressure, though, on the 57th, the race for 5th, one of the closer battles on the racetrack.
Definitely very close battle as it stands right now between these competitors. Nose to tail between the 57 of Cameron Stone and the 10 of Edward Shearer Jr. Will we see a move from the 10 on the 57? Let's just wait and see as they head their way down that start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. Here comes the 10. He looks at down the inside. Deja vu to what we saw at the end of stage 1. Will he be able to get done here? Survey says he will. The 57 of Cameron Stone saying, you know what? This is not my fight. He just backs out of it. I think a smart call early on still here in stage number 2.
Yeah, good pass for Shearer Jr. But we got a replay here with Brian Workman in the 35. Not too sure what happened here a couple laps ago. Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be an illegal exit there for the 35 car.
Actually, hearing him may have picked
I
up
don't know if that's going to be cleared or not. He's been discussing that in the chat with Race Control, but I don't know if he's going to get that one back or not because that's one that you. I don't know. I'll leave that. I'm just glad I'm not an official.
You know, I used to do Race Control, and there's a very good reason why I don't do Race Control anymore. It's not because drivers hated my calls, it's the fact that I hated being in race control. So you know what? I'm going to leave that decision in the hands of the people who are paid to make that decision. Instead, I'm going to give my 2 cents and say, if I were that cone on pit exit, I would probably need a change of pants after that moment because that cone was about an inch away from getting absolutely eviscerated.
Got a good race happening for 9th. Kirk Mills, Mark Padgett at the moment. Padgett been looking really good from the drop of the green to begin stage 2, and you see Mills a little sideways at the exit of turn 4. And again, you got to be perfect through all 4 corners if you want to make your way towards the front here at the Indy, while also dealing with that really dirty air at the same time.
And when we think of Indy, one word that has to pop into our head when it comes to stock cars running around here, the 2 words that nobody likes to hear in stock car racing: dirty air. Pretty sure people would be less terrified about the boogeyman than they are about dirty air. We got a fight involving McWhorter and Eddie Rose. That was McWhorter jumping his way up into second there. Rather less second was the move there from McWhorter, but he made it work, heading his way down the backstretch off into turn number 3. So McWhorter jumps his way up into second out of Benefield. Still, though, just driving off into the sunset, holding on now to a 1.7 second gap presently. So Adam Benefield just in a league of his own right now.
Yeah, so here's the deal with the dirty air here at Indy. If you don't know inside the car the best, here's what happens: you lose the front downforce. The car obviously won't turn well in the corner. You're losing stability, especially in turns 1 and turn 3. That's why some drivers are getting loose there on corner exits. and you're also losing momentum because your car can stall out. You can stall out on a run halfway through the pass. So how do you combat that? You obviously set up the pass on the straight, because if he's not diving in here, he's setting him up. You've got to time your run perfectly, because if you stay in that dirty air too long, your tires, especially the right sides, they could be toast. You can adjust your driving line at times. You may move half a groove up or down to get clean air on the nose, even if it's not the preferred pace, even if it's not the preferred racing line. And finally, air timing and patience. In dirty air, you can't drive it in as deep because the car just simply won't stick. And that's where veterans on iRacing shine. They know how to time the attack well.
They know when to pounce, they know when to fight, and they know when to attack. That is such a good point to raise there, Marty, talking about how well you can do in a race like this. You gotta know when to pounce. If you show your hand too early, that will be when you start to see these competitors really start to struggle. Because if you know everybody, if you know your competitors' cards, if you know your competitors' plays, you're not going to be able to be jump scared by them at all. And you got to be jump scared a little bit. You got to jump scare your competitors slightly to get a move done here at Indy, as we jump back to live action with these top three, with Benefield just driving off in the distance. These two that we've got on screen right now of McWhorter and Rose still holding on to their own fight, but we haven't seen Rose really fight back too much to the 73 of McWhorter. He got that move done, and ever since then, Eddie Rose has been rather content running right behind. Whether or not he's doing that to get some good fuel numbers remains to be determined, as we see Brian Workman running there on the high side, that lapped car getting out of the way there through a very unfortunate section of the racetrack to get lapped.
Yeah, and McWhorter nearly got sideways. He had his two left-sided wheels just below the apron. As long as it's not on the grass, you're fine, and he's just trying to get every ounce of grip he can. But what we saw in turn one, Eddie Rose was trying to do, get some clean air out of the nose at the same time. Had the left side, yeah, you see right there on the grill? It's getting some clean air there with it not being directly behind the rear bumper of Joseph McWhorter. Can help a little bit. However, McWhorter has the slight advantage because he's got that clean air for right now, and he's also entering lower. Or he's driving in lower, I should say.
You know, I'm going to give an apples to broccoli comparison here and talk about the Indy 500s here. We saw in past years drivers running different lines to try and find any way to both put some dirty air on the front wing of the car behind and also try and get some clean air on their front wing. You gotta have to apply the same principle here at Indy. This is a track where you do not have the banking to assist you, and as much as the asphalt at Indy is rather grooved up, you can't really rely on that 100%. You have to rely on the aero grip slightly, which is part of the reason why we're going to see these racers get rather experimental when it comes to the lines that they will run throughout this race. We jump back to the action with Mason Lowry in the 06 and Matthew Boston Wheelers. That was a sideways snap coming out of turn number 4.
Yeah, that was Brian Workman that came out of nowhere at a slower rate of speed. No issues, though, for Wheeler and Lowry to get by. But Workman just trying to get out of the way, make sure the lead lap guys race amongst themselves. Workman hoping that he can get one of his 2 laps back. He'll likely get it at the end of stage 2 or whenever the next caution flag flies here. So he'll be able to get one of his laps back, at least from what we know of.
We are getting to that stage break. We are officially halfway through stage number 2 here, and I wonder if these racers are maybe hoping for that yellow to come out here soon. With how everybody has been running, though, in this race, I think those stage yellows may potentially be the only yellows that we have. These drivers keeping it on the straight and level, keeping it smooth, but overall, it's rather impressive to see, because this is not an easy combination by any means whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely not. You're dealing with a long run here at Indy on a track that obviously, as you and I know, Ron, very tough for passing. So you're just trying to stay patient. Hopefully you got something on the side that you can enjoy checking on at the same time. I know on my end, on my side, I got a little bit of smackdown of the truck race going, so a lot of drivers probably checking in on the truck race too. I don't know how he's got going on. I don't know what they are 5 hours ahead of us when it's overnight there in the UK. You probably have something on down in Philadelphia. You're probably watching the Phillies game. What's Howie saying? It's 2 a.m. right now. I think I'm reading that right.
Yeah, shout out to Howie in the production truck. He's been on these shows for every single time that I've been on them. And running the late shift there in the UK. Props are due to Howie in the production truck, because 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to share a little broadcasting story here as we will keep tabs on this fight involving Connery Cunningham as well. That's himself and Mason Lowry running nose to tail, just as FYI. Couple of weeks ago, I think it was the weekend before last, I was doing the broadcast of the Spot 24 over on the iRacing YouTube channel, and I was on that show for 9 hours, and my last stint on that show was from 10 o'clock Eastern to 2 o'clock in the morning. But I didn't have to worry about production. I just basically yapped and made very little sense, which is just basically, that's not even my MO, that's what I have written out on my business card.
That's what I hear from some announcers as well. You know, like what I was announcing last week for sprint car racing at one track, talking with the track announcer there. He says, "I don't even know technology. I just know my voice, and I just do what they tell me to, and I just talk into a microphone, whatever it is. I don't care what the volume level is." So then you got me, who brings a headset, tries to figure out volume levels, tries to coordinate stuff with the broadcast team, and stuff like that, making sure everything's all good to go for us.
Have you checked the radio volume? I had to turn my mic gain all the way up for that. I feel bad. I apologize. And to anyone whose headphones have just exploded as a result of all that, you're probably able to hear every single thing down to my creaking chair, and also the ceiling fan I have running in my room when I hiked up from my game there. Oh boy. Michael Pratchek, we can follow him right now, running in P14 at the present moment. Is right there within striking distance of the 42 of Mason Lowry. Thought the fight would be between the 70 and the 42. Looks like it's actually going to be between the 42 and the 40. This will be a battle for lucky number P13 in this race, as we are now 10 laps away from the stage break.
Yeah, and so this time by, we're going to be halfway home, 50 up and 50 down, and a really good, clean race so far from these drivers, but it's just been absolutely dominant here by Adam Benefield. Now I know my strategy backfired here. I thought we were going to see a lot of people come in pit row and try and flip the stage. Now I think we're going to see it here at the end of stage 2, because drivers really want that track position to try and get in front of Benefield. Everyone knows Benefield's got the best car, but I feel like whatever happens, even if you're leading this race, you're going to have the best car out there. So don't be surprised if Vic Warder tries to go for it. Don't be surprised if maybe Eddie Rose, Bryson Hixenbaugh try and go for it before Adam Benefield comes to 2 laps to green.
Yeah, I was thinking as I was talking about the fact that we were now 10 laps away from the stage break here for stage number 2, I was thinking, will this be a breeding ground for drivers making those interesting calls to come down pit lane? Will they decide to flip this stage?
I think all strategy ideas are going on in their head. All the gears are cranking around right now, not in the car, inside the driver's minds. What are they going to do? Will they just stay out, hit at lap 60? The thing you got to think of here as well, at the same time too here, Ron, remember the fuel window is 30 laps. Should everyone stay out in stage number 2, you're pitting just around lap 62. You got 30 laps. It'll put you up to 9 laps to go in the race. So sometimes you're thinking reversely when that final pit stop is going to be.
Yeah, will we see drivers throw some off-the-wall strategies this way? Or are they just going to decide to stick to the status quo? We're going to have 2 different ends of the coin, I feel, when it comes to all of that. But as we do get to the end of the stage, we look at these 2 on screen right now. That right there is Cameron Stone running right in front of the driver that we're running on board with right here. A couple of sideways snaps for Nick Stein as he headed his way all through turn number 4. You can see the slight offset to that. Will we see a move down into turn number 1? The 51 sends it in a little bit deep, but as soon as the 59 gets into that dirty air, you can just see that car start to skate up the road. You can could just see that kind of put on full display as we rode on board with the cockpit cam of that driver right there.
Yeah, just basically way too tough for Steiner to try and make a pass on Stone at the moment. Just has to hope that Stone makes a mistake or just gets sideways coming off of one of these corners to try and make a pass.
As we see, a bit of a sideways snap there from Cameron Stone, heading his way off through turn number 3. And another sideways moment. As we get to the end of the stage, you can see these drivers really start to walk around on eggshells for all of this. But, oh boy, this is getting sketchy. That it most certainly is. Here's a dive from Nick Stein on Cameron Stone. It's the 57, the 59 down into turn number 1. The 59 a little bit too wide there to really make any sort of gains there. Thought I was going to see contact as they had their way off through the south chute. And did not see that as they are still running nose to tail. We'll have had some contact there, then we could have some fun.
Yeah, if you're just going to completely stay on the bottom like that, corner entry, corner exit, you're not going to get the speed sign up in the following corner unless it's coming off at turn number 2. Then you may be able to. Who knows what's just going to happen there when you're all the way downstairs there in the corner.
Yeah, so as we continue to follow these racers running nose to tail, we're going to see these racers start to turn up the wick into the end of the stage. I feel like I've said turn up the wick a lot, but we are starting to see it side by side. Through the yard of bricks they're going to go, and rather uncontested is the move from Nick Stein to jump his way up into 6th. Cameron Stone saying, you know what? I'm okay. I'm no thanks about a side-by-side fight down into turn number 1. And can you necessarily blame him for that? I certainly cannot. But we jump back to some more action. Here's Eddie Rose, currently locked in P3 at this point of the race. But a rather, I wouldn't say under the radar driver, because we have been keeping tabs on throughout a decent chunk of this race. But at the same time here, Marty, we haven't really been talking about him as a top running driver in this series, a top running driver in this race, I should say, which he really is. That 46 car running smooth.
Yeah, Rose has had a decent stage 2 so far, and it all comes back to that pit stop, how he gained a bunch of spots coming out of pit road and was able to set himself up for a really good stage 2, and he's at it right now. Joe McWhorter and Adam Butterfield, just the 2 better drivers than him, and as we say that, Rose gets a little bit sideways there, exiting turn number 1. But I think here it's all going to come down to the pit stop, not just here after stage 2, but also the final pit stop here with 9 laps to go. And thinking long term here, Ron, when we get to that final pit stop with just under 10 laps to go, should it be the way we look at things? It's going to be a money stop. I think you're going to see a lot of drivers go for 2 tires.
I'm not too sure. I feel like if it were me, I would just stick to running 4, because around a racetrack like this, you are having to rely on that mechanical grip a lot, especially if you've been in dirty air. If you're a driver like Adam Benefield, you could probably afford to pick up 2 tires on that car, but for everybody else, I feel like 2 tires would be akin to tying an anchor around your waist and then throwing it off the side of a building with yourself still attached to it.
You look at Kirk Mills, final driver in the top 10 in stage points, 2-second advantage on Matthew Wheeler. So coming to 3 laps to go here in the stage this time by, and basically if you want to try and flip the stage, you gotta pit now basically.
Yeah, if you're interested in going for that off-the-wall strategy, now is that end of the Goldilocks zone. It's not even the Goldilocks zone.
Wow,
it is
nobody.
The end of it. Nobody making that call in the top 5.
Stone in the wall of the 57. I don't think anyone's going to come in, so everyone's going to stay put. But if you're in the back, you basically, at this point, with how far you're behind, you basically just cannot make the pit stop, or else you'll just be trapped a lap down, and you won't cycle through to the race lead.
Yeah, really, I feel like the split strategies, I don't know why, it just feels like a track where you can't really worry about the strategy too much, because you just need to worry about keeping it on the road I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. These racers staying rather uniform when it comes to their strategy, and that has certainly played out here in the first two stints. 58 laps coming to 59 on the board this time by, with Adam Benefiel leading by 4 seconds. We could see those red lights turning on, so we now have pit road officially closed here, getting to the end of stage numero 2.
Yeah, and again, Benefield's been the dominant car so far. His lead 4 seconds on McWhorter. Here's Shearer Jr., 5th place driver, trying to pressure Hixenbaugh for 4th. And let's remember, Bryson Hixenbaugh restarted in 2nd to begin stage number 2, and the restart just did not go the way he expected it to. Lost a spot to Eddie Rose, and then lost a spot to Joe McWhorter. And so Hixenbaugh is just hoping for a much better pit stop. When you look at the pit times, best pit stop as a whole was Cameron Stone at a 13:52. I'm looking at it on my end, but amongst the drivers in the top 5, the advantage went to Eddie Rhodes, 14:82. But then when you look at the pit lane time as a whole, it was Eddie Rhodes at a 53.15, who was the best of all the drivers. And then that was followed up by Hixenbaugh, Ed Shearer Jr., and Adam Benefiel. But Benefiel with the big advantage because he's got pit stall number 1.
Yeah, that is a huge plus to have in your camp here in a race at Indy. And we're starting to see some drivers go side by side a little bit farther behind. That was Timothy Cook trying to get some moves done. But here's Adam Benefiel heading his way down into turn number 3 and 4 at the end of this stage. It's been just about faultless race. Faultless race. Second tries the charm. It's been a faultless race. God damn it. It's been a good one for the driver of the number 83 car. Adam Benefiel going to head his way onto that start-finish straightaway to take the Stage 2 victory here at Indy. It'll be Joseph McWhorter finishing 4 seconds back. Eddie Rose another second behind Hixenbaugh. Edward Shearer Jr. round out the top 5, a little bit farther back to find Nick Stein, Cameron Stone, Kyle Amon, Mark Paget across the line in 9th, and Kirk Mills rounds out your top 10. There is a yellow. All your point scorers there. A nice little swapperoo between Paget and Mills when it comes to that playoff discussion. 2 points, which frankly in these playoff systems, formats, points scoring, thingamabobbers, I'm running out of words to say in the English lexicon here on this show. I really think that at the moment, Mark Paget and Kirk Mills are going to be just about tied on points by the end of tonight.
Yeah, remember they came in at a 2-point difference for the final spot in the playoffs with Paget up 2 on Kirk Mills. Eric Wineland 33 up coming on in, and I don't believe Wineland's actually in the field here tonight, so Wineland will not. I don't believe Wineland will be in a playoff spot by the time this race ends. Maybe the same goes for Jim Schofield too, because he's not in this show either, so maybe something to keep an eye on for Tim Phillips, who, well, he's been very quiet in the race, running 17th, getting that experience, getting the points he needs.
Yeah, now we see the field stacking up behind that iRacing pace car. Probably going to be about one more lap before we see these drivers make that run to come down pit lane. That or the opening stint is just throwing us for an absolute fiddle, and they're going to be coming down pit lane this upcoming time by. But the pit stop's going to be important to set off the final stage on the right note. The 40-lap dash through to the fall of the checkered flag may have some green-white checkers to worry about potentially as well. I would doubt it, but you know, you can never say never here in a race like this. But these drivers will have to try and ace their pit stops like they did in the first. If you get it right, you're fine. If you have a little bit of a screw up, whether it be speeding down pit lane where a penalty would be massive, or even just missing your marks a little bit down pit lane, that's going to be a real stinger.
So here we go, 4 tires and fuel for everyone. We'll focus on the pit stops. Does someone try and gain track position and go for 2 tires? I don't think we're going to see anyone go for the 2-tire pit stops until we get late in the race. So we'll just see what happens here. And again, Benefiel with the big advantage because of pit box number 1.
As they trundle their way down pit lane. We're going to keep tabs to see if anybody decides to go for an off-the-wall strategy. Will they go for 2 tires? Will they decide to just take fuel? Or will they miss their pit stall? That was Hixenball missing his marks. I was just going to say that missing your marks is badly. I said it a couple of moments ago, and that is a costly mistake for the driver of the number 63 car. Very thankful at this point that he has that.
Oh, look how many spots he loses.
He's going to drop down like a rock. Look at that behind Cameron Stone. He's going to exit out of the pits in P6. That's a real kick in the shins.
Absolutely. It's going from bad to worse for the driver of the number 63. So it's Benefield, McWhorter, Rose, Shearer Jr., Stone, Hixenbaugh, Stein, Ammon, Wheeler, and Cunningham. That is the top 10. So McWhorter with a good opportunity coming here on this restart in just a couple of moments. If he can time it right, or if Eddie Rose will move up to second.
Yeah, and Eddie Rose, he may be in a good spot here. I think he is certainly in a good spot to take P2. Will he be in a good spot to challenge Benefield? Is anybody in a good spot to challenge Adam Benefield? He's had a stranglehold on this race up to this point here tonight. We'll just have to find out. I think Benefield, there's just something in that car, whether it be nitrous, whether it be his tires just absolutely working. That car, though, has been on rails ever since it dropped the green flag. And it's partially down to the car, it's partially down to the driver as well. Adam Benefield, a wheelman here in this series, keeping it strong, keeping it honest, and keeping it up at the front.
So field doubles up here, and we'll get set to come to Whiten. While we do a reminder, next week, the FLCC Friday Night Lights will be at Iowa Speedway, 8:30 p.m. right here on Maconi Entertainment. And again, we continue the home stretch to the regular season. And again, a reminder, we have 8 drivers locked in via wins. Bryson Hixenbaugh with 6, Adam Benefield 3, a win each from Joe McWhorter, Austin Nevey, Lucas Hoitzma, Daniel Llewellyn, Charles Velasquez Jr., and Cameron Stone. We got 4 spots left to determine, and just a handful of races left to go. It's all starting to come down to the final weeks here, and I believe the playoffs will begin in mid-September.
Yeah, so we aren't too terribly far away from the start of the playoffs here in the FLCC Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. Those playoffs will be starting with the opening round of the playoffs and the opening race of the playoffs at Bristol. That will be on September the 12th. I'm not actually going to be there for that broadcast, but Bristol, it's only going to be a fun one. That was the, I think, the first ever show that we had here of the FLCC Friday Night Lights. See, I always say FLC. But FLCC has a better ring to it, the full-length challenge Friday Night Lights series. But it's going to be a fun one. We're about to get this race restarted here in a couple of moments' time. Adam Benefield and Joseph McWhorter up at the front, P1 and P2 for those racers. Hoping we have a clean restart. Otherwise, everyone's going to have to play out their moments here.
Oh boy. The sound effects are back. Please, harmonica. Let's get a harmonica on this restart.
You know, it's funny, blowing into this little, like, comedy pink whistle here, which is in very hot pink. I need to post a photo in the little broadcaster's text chat. It sounds better getting blown into the other direction that does the right way, because the other direction, see, it sounds nice and loud and high-pitched. The other end, it just sounds like some weird... It sounds like the Jetsons car if the tape got washed with bleach. About to get this race restarted here right about now. Adam Benefield and Joseph McWhorter lead us back to green as we're back racing here at Indianapolis. And it looks like Eddie Rose going to follow in suit to jump immediately into second.
I swear, it sounds like you're drilling a hole into wood or stainless steel, whatever the heck you want to do. McWhorter underneath Rose trying to cross him over here for the second spot, coming out of the south chute. Oh boy, McWhorter nearly got wide up there, exiting turn 2. Rose trying to hang on, and he does. Meanwhile, Hixenbaugh wants the 4th spot from Shearer Jr. And there he goes.
Pretty nice moves here at the start of this race. These drivers going for some smooth moves, which may not be the best idea because they don't have sponsorship from Xlax. Adam Benefiel holds on to it, though. Eddie Rose slotted in P2. Joseph McWhorter rounds at the top 3, as it's still a little bit of pandemonium, a little bit farther behind. This still battling side by side as we complete the first lap under green here in stage number 2. 66 laps on the board, so a long way left to go for these drivers, but Benefiel looking to do what he's done all throughout this race and just drive off into the sunset.
Oh, hang on, McWhorter sideways off for 2. This could get interesting, but he had the clean air for just a moment, but lost so much speed he just has to get back in line and sort things out and reset.
Yeah, so McWhorter with a bit of a squirrely moment out of turn number 2. Thought we were about to see him just auger straight into that inside wall, but McWhorter trying to cut down on the inside coming out of these turns. We'll probably see it again here through turn number 4. That 46 drifts wide. McWhorter keeps it tight to the inside line. I think this is the only shot that the 73, I should say, has of trying to make his way up back into P2. Bryson Ixenball just at the 5th lap of the race last time by, so he's clearly a man on a mission after not really being in any sort of state to win in the first 2 stages. Looks like he's come back here in the final stage and come back with a vengeance. I say that knowing fully well that his tires are probably going to fall away here in a couple of moments' time, and he'll drop down like an anvil pushed into a koi pond.
And you know what? I got to give credit to Eddie and Joseph, because they are still right there on Adam Benefiel. Adam hasn't been able to increase the lead like he did in stages 1 and 2, so Rose and McWhorter may have been saving this stuff going into stage number 3, so things are working well here for 2nd and 3rd, and I would not say that this is all Adam Benefiel just yet with over 30 laps to go.
There's still a lot of time left to go here in this race for these drivers to either mount a challenge or drop down like a stone. I think we'll see both ends of that. Speaking of a stone, Cameron Stone slotted in P6. That was a very odd transition, but there he is in the course light car. The Silver Bullet currently holding on to that final spot inside the top 6. He's got that number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. right in front. Nick Stein right behind, and a train of cars following in suit. That transition, some would call it terrible, others would call it fantastic. Mark of a true professional here, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, I carry that onto the iRacing shows.
Hammond just made a pass on Matthew Wheeler in the background, moving up to the 9th position. Mike Prachik now stuck in the 11th spot trying to make a move, but this is a 7-car train. It's kind of like a DRS train in Formula 1 when you think of it. Scherer Jr. at the head of this train. He's basically the conductor, and Prachik is the caboose. And now, boy, risky from Wheeler trying to get that spot back, but he lets Ammon have the spot. Now up front, Benefiel's lead at 1/4 of a second, so Rose is actually closing in on this lead in the draft. Very impressive by the 46 car.
And we are on the funny lap here. Lap number 69 in this race. 32 laps now left to go here this evening. We're on the nice lap, though. And it's a nice, close battle at the front. This is the first time we have seen this, really, in this race. Adam Benefiel has just about been untouchable ever since the drop of the green flag. Now with 32, coming to 31 laps left to go here in this race. We have a battle up at the front, which thus far has been rare as a Stradivarius. Benefiel and Rose and McWhorter all covered by about a half a second. I think McWhorter will try and lay back, as Rose will probably be the one to fight. I was thinking right at the end of that second stage, does Eddie Rose have that gumption and have the power to be able to challenge Adam Benefiel? But clearly he does have the power, as he's keeping him honest right now.
I think we just had a close call to a yellow flag with 31 to go. I think Wheeler got into the bumper of Ammon into turn 1, and also threw a block on Mike Prachik the corner later. Luckily, everyone able to keep her straight, and so obviously staying green for right now, but nobody from 5th back to 11th able to really make a pass, just following each other and setting their sights. There's a replay of the close call with the 06 of Wheeler.
Let's see that close quarter stuff. Matthew Boston Wheeler, that 06 car, usually gonna be wheeling it. He's got that 3 right behind as well. Oh boy, that was Eddie Rose with a little bit of a sideways snap through turn number 2. I don't know why I'm turning into Marvin the Martian here, but Adam Benefiel still holds on to the race lead. Eddie Rose slotted in P2. McWhorter runs at the top 3, but here we go. Here's a fight with Edward Sherrow Jr. and Cameron Stone down into turn number 3, and book it, Stone through into 5th.
Okay, hear me out. With that voice you just did, I want to hear you do a Kermit the Frog impression.
Oh, God.
Do it.
Oh, no.
Do it.
Kermit the Frog here.
Yes. Yes.
If you want more of this action, ladies and gentlemen, tune in here to Maconi Entertainment every single Friday night. We look at these drivers oh so close down into turn number 1. That's Matthew Boston Wheeler at the epicenter of all that drama. In that car that looks vaguely like the same color scheme of an old Hershey's car. Ron will be doing the rest of this race as Kermit now. I'm not sure if I can do that reliably in the same way that I can't really do the Marvin the Martian voice too commonly either. I could slip into a southern accent, though, which as a Philadelphian, some may find offensive, but not nearly as offensive as last week when I said that people should avoid moving to Dover, Delaware.
How about Pee Wee Herman? I hear a little Pee Wee Herman in that too.
Oh no, I'm not sure how much I've listened to Pee Wee Herman. Phil Hartman.
Where's my bike? Where's my position?
I could do like a terribly cracky voice. Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to the Friday. I nearly said the name of a different broadcasting company. I've only did that once, and it was at the broadcasting company that I was about to say. I haven't done that on the iRacing show because I still have my jobs there. Oh boy. But yeah,
right, we had some changes too. Prachik passed Connor Cunningham. Wheeler passed Cunningham as well. Cunningham fading a little bit in that number 78. Lowry the next to try and attack him. Meanwhile, Benefield's lead increased just a little bit, not too much like we've seen, at 0.6 of a second on Eddie Rose.
Look at these drivers still running in their own little pack and keeping clean here in this race. I say that knowing fully well I will probably jinx it and bring some sort of sideways snap, a driver getting struck by falling anvil. You can never rule it out with me in the broadcast booth. Whatever sort of shenanigans may go on here at Indy between now and the end of this race, but we stay lock steady on this camera shot involving the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler and the 3 right behind, and we may end up seeing a battle between them potentially. I don't know why I've slowly shifted into sounding like a nighttime radio host here. That would be a fun way to end the show.
NPR.
Yeah, it's funny actually. One of my favorite radio stations here in the city of Philadelphia is one run by Temple University. Funnily enough, one of our here, Maconi Entertainment, is an alum, I believe, of Temple University, and that is our old pal and man of colleague racing, Dylan Boyle, which I learned right before him and I did a show not terribly long ago. That was some close quarter stuff down into turn number 1, the 3, and the 06 nearly coming to blows.
Yeah, a lot of close calls there. Some drivers playing defense at the moment. And you see Wheeler trying to defend up number 3. It's also opened a little bit of a gap here between Stein and Ammon. Delta at 0.3 of a second as Stein's trying to get a run on Shearer Jr. Does he look here for 6th? I don't believe so.
It looks like they're going to be running nose to tail line astern as they had their way through the north end of the track for one of the many times here in this race. Coming up to the final quarter now, there's only 5 laps now left to go. I think we had a swap-a-roo with McWhorter and Rose, and as the driver comes down pit lane, was that the 3? No, it was a 29, my apologies. Tanner Marty. So, Marty, coming down pit lane here, Marty.
Yeah, so the window is open here for drivers to make their final pit stop with 26 laps of race to go. The window is at 30 laps. So, yeah, you can come in, make your final stop. What Marty and Ron are trying to do, they're trying to get the tires, trying to get the grip here, trying to get that undercut to work out, see if they can gain some time. Obviously, they won't have enough to catch up to the leader, but they're trying to find a way to start that up and try and split the strategy in half. With 20, they start off with 50 laps to go, now trying to cut it down to 25.
Yeah, so when we get into this point of the stage, we will start to see these drivers run their own strategy calls and try and figure out what's going to work best at the end of this race. Steve Benjamin dropping down a little bit. The driver, the number 53 car, have all throughout this race and just lost out on a spot to 4 of Timothy Cook Jr. slotted in lucky number P13 as it stands presently right now. 24 laps left to go, and actually now joining me in the broadcast booth is someone who's never done an iRacing broadcast before, but it'll be interesting to hear their perspective on this. Chip Quisley joining us here in the broadcast booth. Chip, what are you thinking about the race? Well, I'll tell you what, Ron, I think we're in for a mighty fine end to this race, if I do say so myself. We're in for a pretty good strategy call. I feel like my southern accent is a bit too undiscernible between my regular broadcasting voice.
Benefield coming in. Benefield coming in. Sorry to interrupt you, Chip, but we got Benefield making his way onto pit road to split it in half now. Tanner and Ken, again, window is open to go the rest of the way now. Tanner and Ken went for 2 tires. We'll see what Benefield decides to do. I would expect a 2-tire call. Swing go the rest of the way scot-free. And I believe now, for the first time today, with 23 laps to go, we've got a new leader, Joe McWhorter.
The 83 of Adam Benefield is not leading this race, at least for now. We still have to see the rest of these drivers make that call to come down pit lane. Joseph McWhorter, will he follow in suit for the driver, the number 83?
I believe this was 2 tires. 2 tires for Benefield and a great stop at 6 seconds. Tanner and Ken went 9 seconds. Either that or Benefield just decided to go fuel only to the finish here. That is interesting. If he wins, if he finishes top 3, I would love to know the call he did. I'll double check on that though. Kyle Yaman now on pit road. And yeah, I did not see the jack go up for Benefield, so that looks like fuel only for him. As Yaman now on pit road.
Yeah, Kyle Amon making that call to come down pit lane in the number 17 machine. I will say, though, if we get the opportunity to interview Adam Benefield, he may keep his cards to his chest and say, you know what, I'm not going to reveal any secrets, and just say, you know what, I will let you two guess what the strategy call was at the end of this race, which, you know, I can respect to a certain degree, because I think that is kind of funny. Just you ask a driver in an interview at the end of one of these broadcasts, so how's your car driving tonight? It's like, you tell me. Like, I don't know. I wasn't the one behind the wheel. McWhorter still holds on to the lead. Rose
McWhorter in.
But he's coming into the pits. Here we go.
So Ammon did 4 tires. McWhorter, I wonder what he's going to do if he does fuel only or if he does 2 tires. If he does 2 tires here, then that's big for the driver of the number 83 because he'll gain 3 seconds basically on pit road. But McWhorter will have the fresher right sides.
Yeah, so Joseph McWhorter, will this strategy call work out well for him? We flash our minds back to the race at Pocono. It was a battle with himself and Benefield that brought it to the end of this race. Fuel only for McWhorter, 5.3 seconds down in his pit stall, and 39.4 out and away in pit lane altogether. How will it work out for the driver, the number 73? Will he be able to exit in front of
This is
Adam
interesting.
Benefield? I think they're rather close together. I think
side by side.
Still got to be right by him. I think Benefield may have just gotten it done. Yeah, there he is.
He did, but McWhorter gained about a second or so when it came to the pit lane. So it believes to me that Benefield beat him there on pit entry / pit exit, able to stretch that gap now to 1.5 seconds. Prachik on pit road.
So Michael Prachik making that call to come down pit lane himself. Eddie Rose is the other driver that we're waiting for to come down pit lane next, along with Hicksonball in P2. Cameron Stone in third, Edward Scherer Jr. and Nick Stein ran at your current top 5 as we are still in the midst of this pit cycle. Prachik going up on the jacks here. Interesting
4 tires.
to see him take 4 tires at the end of this race. That's not going to work out well for him at all. As much as I think it was good to have 4 tires during the pit stops earlier on, or just take tires, period. Doesn't matter whether it was 4 or 2. At the end of this, Nick Stein. Speaking of Stone, here's Nick Stein. But no, I was gonna just say the fact that earlier on in this race, when we had the stage pit stops, it was good to take tires. Now, though, I don't think the chances of us having a yellow between now and the end are very high. So, frankly, there's a time to decide to say, you know what, I'm just going to put fuel only in the car. Probably now.
Eddie Rose leading by 1.8 seconds on Bryson Hixenbaugh. So Rose been able to extend that lead. Best race on track, like Ron mentioned, Shirer, Stein, Wheeler for the 4th spot. Hey, give credit as well. Timothy Cook, haven't talked about him yet on this broadcast. I know we're in a long run for pit stops, but he and Rory Collins, who's in 11th, they're each up 12 spots right now.
Here's a good lesson time, broadcasters out there. Swallow before you speak. We run on board with Matthew Boston Wheeler slotted in P6. It's just been one of those nights. But Matthew Boston Wheeler currently holding on to P6 as it stands presently. Do want to raise one thing about the driver right in front, as my old speech amendment just came back there with ways for me. But Nick Stein has done ways of a race here for him, and his series debut in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series was looking through. This is his first race with us, and very nice to see him out there on the racetrack. He called a shot and thought that he was going to take a bite out of the turn 2 wall. He's still running a P5 right now, so nicely played for the driver of the 59.
Yeah, running 5th at the moment. That's not a bad debut here at Indianapolis. Very interested to see how he does at the, at the intermediates. I know you can't consider Indianapolis an intermediate. It's its own special track. Interesting what he does at the intermediates and the short tracks, as that's the bread and butter of the schedule. Matthew Wheeler, meanwhile, on pit road to the 06. We'll see what he decides to do.
So here we go. The pit stops continue. Indianapolis is a super speedway. Indianapolis is a super speedway in the same way that I am thin. I am not. So there we go. That's my little bit of commentator's advice here at the end of all this.
We're just trying to find a way to make this fun.
We're here to have a good time here at Maconi Entertainment. Up on the jacks is the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler, so not going to help him out when it comes to his pitch strategy there at all, as that's my pen clanging against my desk.
See, this is why you always get a shock mount for your microphone, so that doesn't happen. I can move this up and down, and you can't even hear me do that unless I'm not talking.
I think that's mainly down to me clanging it on wood. I feel like if I bump into it, you can just hear all this stuff shuffle around on my desk, because my current setup at the present moment has been stuff that has been cobbled together with money I make from broadcasting. So I barely make enough money to afford Greek yogurt, folks. So you can imagine that my keyboard is about as stable as my mental health back when I was in 8th grade. Here's some side-by-side racing involving the 39, the 69. That's Rory Collins, and the 69 of Kirk Mills. That got dark there a couple of moments. Those two battling at the moment for P11 and 12.
Yeah, in front of them as well, Padgett just got past Steve Benjamin for the 9th position on the racetrack. So that could be something key going into their final pit stops. So for the way things are looking, the top 13 on the track are going to stretch this out up to like 8 or 9 laps to go. Everybody else further back from 14th on back, they've already made their pit stop, then go scot-free to the finish. Unless we get a yellow flag that sets up a green-white checkered, possibly.
Yeah, if we have a yellow at the end of this race, it will be even more. I said earlier on that battle with Benefield was about as rare as a Stradivarius. A yellow in this race, not because of an incident. Well, because of an incident would be as rare as a Stradivarius. A yellow, not because of an incident, would be about as rare as a stage yellow, which means it wouldn't. So Rory Collins has come down pit lane. It's left Kirk Mills all by himself.
We don't want to get copyrighted.
Stretch. And we're off the air.
Kidding.
Don't sue us now, record companies.
Timothy Cook on pit road. Ooh, cooked them up a little bit with the rear ends, locked the brakes up, but still in at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, so nothing too majorly bad for him, but you know, we're getting to the end of this race, getting into crunch time here for race number 21 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. Eddie Rose still leads over Bryson Ixenball, who's in front of Cameron Stone, who's in front of the 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. Have to go a little bit farther back to find your 1-point race leader of Adam Benefiel. With 14 laps left to go, what would you say the chances are here, Marty, of a driver just deciding to run it all the way through to the end? Are we going to see it, or would that be akin to breaking off the horn of a unicorn and using its shavings to season your pasta?
Well, the thing is right now, if I'm Eddie Rose and Bryson Ixenball, you are going to go fuel only. Here's the situation. Benefiel is 28 seconds back. He did fuel only as well. His time on pit road, though, as a whole was 43 seconds. So you likely will not be able to get the lead from Adam Benefiel. It's going to likely take a late race yellow, but you'll still have to pit. You're still going to have to pit. So this is looking pretty good for Adam Benefiel, whether we get a yellow flag or not.
Yeah, so Adam Benefiel, he is still in that catbird seat. He's still in that main spot to do well here. 13 laps now left to go on the board here in this 100-lap-long race, which has been a challenge for drivers up and down the grid. Haven't seen many incidents, though, which I think really speaks volumes about the kind of talent that we've got here in this series. But we still have a flat-out dash to the end of this race, and I would not be shocked one bit if we start to see these racers turn up the wick even more. That's Eddie Rose running off into that inside concrete as he was battling hard with himself and Bryson Ixenball. That's a battle for the lead right now, and a swaparoo there. Rose with a not-so-good run through turn number 1. Even in stock cars, hitting that concrete patch on the inside is not the ideal strategy, so to speak, here at Indy. As it stands right now, Ixenball in front of Rose. So both of those drivers on a 26-lap-long stint. Adam Benefiel, the highest running of the racers who have made that call to come down pit lane. But we will see them now. 11 laps left to go here at Indianapolis, with Ixenball still running up in front. Cameron Stone and Edward Scherer Jr., they round out your top 4. Nick Stein rounding out your top 5. Scherer Jr. has been a driver that's really caught my attention over the past couple of weeks. Won at the Chicago Street Course a couple of weeks ago, and ever since then, that driver, the number 10, has really been in a new groove.
It's still waiting on 11 drivers to come in with 11 laps to go. The bulk of the drivers should come in with around 8 laps to go. The window at 30 laps, drivers paying a lap 62, 63 under that yellow flag pit stop. Ixenball is coming to the line for 10 laps to go. That gap staying constant on Eddie Rose. But again, Benefiel now 27.5 seconds in front of Adam Benefiel.
So Benefiel, he is looking to do everything that he can to capture win number 4. You know, flashing our minds back to the earlier stages of this season here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series Championship. When we... Oh, okay, there we go. We're back. Ixenball, I briefly got abducted by a UFO coming out of turn number 1, but he has been spat back. God knows what happened in that UFO. I'm not sure if that can be even shared on the air. But earlier on this season, when we saw him visit Victory Lane, Adam Benefiel winning at Martinsville and Darlington in back-to-back weeks. He won last time out at Dover. He's currently in the catbird seat to win here at Indy. Now that makes you think.
Oh, wow, listen to that. We are being told that drivers are fuel saving here at the moment. So some drivers are going to take the gamble here. And that's very tough to do at a track like Indy with all the straightaways that you have here. So I don't know if drivers are shifting down to third, riding on board here with Nick Stein. And you can see, yep, it's cutting the ignition there. So Stein's going to try and gamble here and see if he can go without a yellow flag. That's bold. That is gutsy.
Yeah, that's very, very gutsy there. As we're going to wait to see if anybody can make that strategy call work. I think there is a chance. There's always a chance for something. You know, there's a chance that before this show is said and done, my house could get struck by a meteorite. Who knows? You can never rule anything out.
So 9 to go. That's normally the point when we would see everyone come down pit road, but that will not be the case. The fuel saving mode is on, and it is possible to fuel save at Indy and win. Remember, Paul Menard did that in 2011. That was his only Cup Series win. Casey Caden saved fuel in 2017 for his final Brickyard 400 victory. Trying to think of other examples, but those are the most notable two at the moment.
You know, if I go through the history of the Indy 500, I could probably rattle off about 50 to 60 more. Not actually, though. My memory is not that good. I barely remember what I had for dinner tonight.
Right on board with Hixenbaugh. He is clutching through turn 3. And lifting in turn 4. Eddie Rose clutching in turn 4. Trying to save as much fuel as he can. And we're listening to Cameron Stone here going into turn number 1. But, yep, the fuel saving game is on.
So here we go with that economy run through to the end of this race.
Stone clutching.
Yeah, you can see the flames spitting out of that car. He's spending a lot of time out of the throttle. Pace-wise, though, there is a limit when it comes to what sort of fuel saving you can do, because Adam Benefield about 25 seconds back from your race leader of Hixenbaugh. For some of the racers, a little bit farther behind Hixenbaugh, if they start to lift off too much just to try and hit a fuel number, it'll get to the point where it's rather unnecessary. You can see those flames spitting out of the exhaust as Hixenbaugh lifts. I would say probably, what do you say, Marty, about like 300 feet before the turn even?
Just about, yeah. I mean, the earlier you can clutch, the better, because that's just helping with miles per gallon.
Here comes a move on Mills, from Mills on Lowry, I should say. That's a spot for P7, so Kirk Mills making his way up the running order. He has got a lot more fuel than the number 42 car right now. 1 lap the difference in terms of their stint length, so Mills is going to wheel that car around a little bit more. I think he's not really playing that fuel-saving game too much, I don't think. He's certainly wheeling it, heading around some of these turns. And that's also another important spot when it comes to the playoff discussion, because right behind Lowry and the next to pounce on the number 42 car is Mills's current playoff rival of the 02 of Mark Pageant.
So I'm looking at a couple of things right now at the moment. If you're clutching, drivers are stretching on average about 2 to 3 extra laps, but that's still not, I don't think they're going to be good enough to go the distance. It's going to be very close. But I have a feeling as well, under caution, after they pitted, I have a feeling some drivers were clutching, trying to save as much fuel as they can, just in case.
Yeah, and I think there are some racers who had this idea, had this strategy angled in their own head all throughout this race. So let's see how it'll work out. Will it be win number 7 on
Benjamin
this
coming
season
in
for Bryson Hixenbaugh, or will it be win number 4 for Adam Benefield? There's Steve Benjamin making that call to come down pit lane. Down goes 1. 5 laps left to go here, and I think if we don't see these racers make that call to come down pit lane here shortly, they're just going to either get to the checkered flag or run out trying.
Eddie Rose is saving more than Bryson Hixenbaugh is. Gap at 1.5 seconds. Man, I tell you what, on an economy run to the end, this race just got a whole lot interesting. I am on the edge of my seat to see if any of these drivers can do it. Benjamin out in 6.6. You didn't even hear the engine go through in turn 1 for Hixenbaugh. You could hear it. It's silent in turn 1 for all the drivers because they're just trying to coast the car and save as much fuel as they can. And you can see Rose is saving as much more. He doesn't believe that Hixenbaugh can make it.
So we are now in the final 10 miles of this race. Bryson Hixenbaugh trying to run that fuel number, run that fuel game. For Adam Benefield, you're starting to think about what could have been here in this race, because as it stands right now, he would be on track to finish in 10th, which is a good points day, but not what he wanted at all out of this race. But hey, he wanted to go for that regular strategy, and I will say, if we do have an incident right at the end of this race and we go into the white checker territory, there's one way to describe these racers running that fuel conservation game, and that is cooked. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel for Benefield. We'll just have to wait and see whether that is a true end of the tunnel or if it's just a train coming the other direction, now with 3 laps left to go for Hixenbaugh.
I'm going to listen on board here with Hixenbach going into turn number 3. How much is he going to clutch here? So he's clutching before he turns in, a lot before he turns in, which helps a lot. And then in the center of the corner, that's when he's back on the throttle. So that's really helping him a lot. And they're not losing too much time to Benefield. The gap, 25 seconds. So I think this is one that Benefield is going to want back, where maybe he should have considered saving fuel. And there's 2 laps of racing to go here.
Yeah,
And again, Hixenbach does the same thing. And same with Eddie Rose.
Yeah, so both of these racers trying to run that fuel-saving game. Hixenbach running on the ragged edge of making this race or not. And I think he's trying to run it all the way to the end.
He was very slow. Hixenbach very slow on corner exit. This is going to be very close.
Yeah, we'll see if Hixenbach's going to make that call to come down pit lane. If he does, it'll fall into the hands of Eddie Rose.
At this point, you can't come into pit road at this time.
Yeah,
because
no,
you're going for the win. You got to go for it. You got to go for it here.
And, you know, I think about the first time I really watched the Indy 500 and 100% remembered it. It was 2016 when Alex Rossi, in the 100th running of the race, was able to make it to the end on fumes. Hixenbach's going to try and do the same. He stays out. He's gunning for the end. He gets that white flag with a 2.8-second lead, even though he's been clutching at straws and trying to save every single drop of fuel that he possibly can. He's still running strong. We look at him full song, heading his way through the south end of the track, out of turn number 2 for the final time. Bryson Hixenbach, he has won a race in just about every single way you could here in this series, whether it be dominant performances, whether it be picking up
Eddie Rose is out.
We'll just have to see. Eddie Rose slow, heading down the backstretch. He loses P2. He loses P3 probably, as Edward Scherer Jr. gonna catch up and blow his doors off there on the inside. Eddie Rose gonna drop down like a rock. You can see him clutching to the end, but Bryson Hixenbach, he's clutched to the end. He pulls off a clutch win here at Indianapolis as he heads his way down that start-finish stretch to the yard of bricks. Bryson Hixenbach gets his 7th win of the season. Bryson Hixenbach wins here at Indy.
Green to checkered with 2 stage yellows. That is it. And Hixenbach, who we thought restarts was going to be tough, where it would have cost him the win, saves perfectly for another big win. 5 more playoff points. How about your top 7 drivers at the end? Able to have enough fuel to the checkered. Actually, Eddie Rose did have enough fuel. Colson across the line in 8th. So 8 drivers on an economy run finishing the race. And Adam Benefield and Joe McWhorter with heartbreaks in 9th and 10th finishing mid-pack.
Yeah, that is a big kick in the shins for them, but a huge boost to Bryson Hixenbach. You know how we were saying that we really didn't see a lot out of him here in this race? You know, in terms of the pace department, we didn't really see it. And then he just decided to throw the curveball at us through the yoinky schmoinky.
No burnout
when it came to the strategy. No burnout though for Hixenbach, which, based off the fact that he is, grinding to a halt here.
Hey, it's okay.
Be surprised.
Hey, if he doesn't do a burnout, it's okay. You don't want to mess up those bricks on the start-finish line. Those things are legendary.
You know, Ty Dillon did that one time, and
and they booed him.
Yeah. You know, I was covering an IndyCar league running here at Indy, and Trotter decided to burn it down on the yard of bricks, despite being an Indiana native. Did not know that that was a bad thing to do, and as a result of all of that, he personally penalized himself there in that series. But Bryson Hixenbach,
he may have enough
to hopefully start the burnout celebrations.
Oh no, it does!
Oh no,
not those bricks! Those things are hallowed.
Yeah, let's stay focused on the electrical box on top of the pagoda.
Now
I do not want to see the sin that's being committed here. There we go. He's finally moved off the bricks. Oh!
At least he's got enough for fuel for a burnout at least. And now I think he's out.
I feel like I just had a hot poker shoved in my eye looking at that. Bryson Hixenbach, you mischievous bastard. Alrighty, I have to specify, I am kidding. That is a joke. Do not kill me, Mr. Bryson Ixtabal. Your winner at the end of this race here at Indianapolis. Cameron Sutton will finish at P2. Edward Scher will round at your podium in third. Next time, will be Class in fourth. Connor Cunningham in fifth. Mark Paget in sixth. Kirk Mills in seventh. So the swapperoo between those two did go on at the end of this race. Have to think about that when it comes to the points, but hey, that's not what we're thinking about right now. Mills, as I just said, finishes in seventh. Eddie Rose, running out of gas at the end, still finish in front of Adam Benefiel. That's a kick in the shins if ever you've seen one for the driver, the number 83, and doubly so for the 73, who went with the same strategy as Benefiel. Thought it'd be a duke out, bare knuckle fist fight between those two. It's not, as they complete your top 10.
11th belongs to Kyle Ammon, Matthew Wheeler 12th, Tim Phillips 13th, Michael Prachik 14th, Tanner Marty 15th, Timothy Cook 16th, Mason Lowry 17th, final car on the lead lap. Ken Ron was 18th, Rory Collins 19th, Steve Benjamin rounded out the top 20.
And looking right behind them at the other final few drivers we have in this race is Brian Wortman, Daniel Llewellyn, Hunter Trull, Johnny Avila, and Jason S. Taylor did not take the start of this race. But the 23 drivers that did, vast majority of them did finish, although it was certainly some wild action from the start of this race all the way through it to the end. But Marty, it looks like we've got some drivers down there in the interview waiting area, so I will get the festivities kicked off here tonight to round off this evening's coverage by bringing in our P3 finisher at the end of this race, Edward Scher Jr. I'll drag him in by the collar here into the broadcast booth to have a chat with the driver, the number 10, who rounds out our podium at the end of this race. Edward, welcome into the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the P3. Happy to talk us through that race that we just saw here at Indianapolis.
Yeah, that was eventful to say the least. But yeah, it was eventful to say the least. But yeah, I think it was definitely one of our better races on the ovals lately. You know, shout out to DJ and Alex for building great Xfinity setups this week at precisionsetups.gg. You can get them on the website. But yeah, the car was great on the long run. We just didn't have that like short run speed that like Adam and all those guys had to start. But it's like once we got to that middle part of the run, it's like we were really cooking, both me, myself, my teammate Nick and Connor, who all did great. You know, we all had great fast Toyota Supras tonight. But yeah, it sucks to come a little bit short, but I mean, I'll take top three after the, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we had Sonoma. I wasn't here for Dover, but definitely a great showing for us at Precision.
Yeah, I talked about a lot throughout that broadcast how you've really been on a good run of form as of recent here in this series. I've been keeping tabs on you in that 10 car more often than not. So I want to ask you about your thoughts heading off into next week's race at Iowa.
Honestly, a little scary, to be honest with you. But, you know, I mean, this Xfinity car, it's something we're all trying to learn and build a notebook on for next year when we really take the step to the next level. We're just trying to really get ourselves acquainted with all these cars. We're just trying to build our setups to be like up there competing against like the Contis and Raikos and so on and so forth. I mean, we're getting there, and we're starting to get people to show up and, you know, take the time in to help us build the sets, and they're getting a lot better. But Iowa is definitely going to be a tricky one for us. We really haven't done much on the short track program with the Xfinity cars yet, mainly just the Cup. I mean, I think I put in probably about 1,000 laps so far in the Cup car for next week. So, yeah, definitely going to be looking forward to the challenge, and yeah, looking forward to getting over there, the corn country, as they.
You know, I've been there to Iowa Speedway. I was going to share a story of something that happened at a gas station across the street back in September of 2022 involving the news going around at the time, but I decided not to share that because I've already said some crazy enough stuff on this show. But Edward, I will wish you the best of luck when we head there to corn country in 1 week's time, and I'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys as well in the booth. You know, you guys do a fantastic job as always. Yeah, you guys do well on Fridays. I know the guys tomorrow will do well as usual. Just shout out to everybody that allows us to keep racing like this. I mean, the races have been absolutely amazing lately. Just a lot of green flag runs, fantastic finishes. Shout out to Precision Speed Solutions again if you want to check us out. PrecisionSetups.gg online on you can find us and join our Discord. I mean, our Discord's literally free. We have a free week this week still going on with Indy for the Cup cars. If anybody wants to try our stuff out, definitely have a couple wins this week. So if you want to give us a shout and try it, but other than that, just shout out to everybody that allows us to keep going. Alex, DJ for making the setups great, and I'll see y'all boys next week.
Yeah, we will see you at Iowa in 1 week's time, man. Thank you for joining us here, and congratulations on the P3.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
And that right there was Edward Scherer Jr., our P3 finisher at the end of this race. And Marty, I will let you have a chat with our P2 runner at the end of it all here tonight of Cameron Stone.
Alrighty, Cameron Stone with a second place finish here. Cameron, first off, how much fuel did you have left at the end?
I ran out coming off a 2 after we took the checker.
Did you guys think that you would have enough fuel coming down? And when did you start saving?
I actually made the decision that I was going to try to make the last stage before we ever took the green flag tonight. I was just looking at the stage lengths, and I was like, well, if we can go 30 or 35 from what I was seeing in practice, there's going to be a couple of caution laps after the stage 2. So you probably got to save 2 laps of gas, and that's definitely doable. So, I decided I was going to try it even before the race even started tonight. So I knew I could make it. I just didn't know that it was going to be the optimal strategy. And kind of what me and Bryson both learned was from clutching into those corners and not charging the corners as much. We kept heat out of the tires. And actually after about lap 20, I was faster on that last run than I had been the 2 before that.
Were you surprised that Benefield went for a pit stop, or did you have a feeling he was going to come in and that was the only way you guys were going to beat him?
From racing with Adam for a long time, it seems to me that he usually shies away from trying to go for the fuel mileage win. I don't know if he's been bit by that in the past or not, but he always tries to talk people out of it, or doesn't see the benefit, or doesn't think that people can make it that far on gas. So I figured, with him being out front too, he's got all the clean air, so he's probably using more throttle than everybody else. So I think he said, after those 30 lap runs, he was only having 2.5, 3 laps of fuel in the car. So, but me and Bryson and Kyle, we were all about 4.5 to 5. So we were about 2 laps better on fuel. I'm going to go ahead and chalk it up to the Ford EcoBoost. Me and Bryson are both in Ford, so we're just getting better gas mileage out there.
Who do you want to give shout outs to?
Got to give a shout out to Bryson. Good race, good win. Shout out to Kyle. Kyle, he ran good again tonight and made the wrong strategy call again. That's kind of his MO, but we'll get him up here eventually. Mason finally finished the race. Attaboy. Honestly, I feel gutted for Adam. He was class of the field. Watching Bryson back into another one, I know is gonna upset him. But I guess you guys called him spoiled mayonnaise for a reason. Shout out to you guys up there in the booth. You're never going to live that down, no. Shout out to anybody that's watching, supporting us tonight. Shout out to Coors Light. Going to go have me a couple of them. Shout out to Team Conti Sim Performance. All the cars that were running good. Us, Eddie, Bryson, Adam, all running the Team Conti set from this week. So Nick Ottinger's really putting in the work, building some fast stuff for us. So appreciate him.
Good deal, man. Well, great job tonight. Awesome run, and best of luck next week in Iowa.
Appreciate it. Hey, I keep coming in second, so just call me Mark Martin out here.
There you go. I guess Mark Martin finishing in second spot here. So, but now it's time to go to victory lane. Your race winner. He's done it once again. Bryson Hicksabah. Ron's caught up with him.
Yeah, Bryson Hicksabah, welcome back here into the broadcast booth, Bryson. Win number 7 for you, and it came under some very tense circumstances here at Indy. How about you talk us through it?
Yeah, I definitely did not expect to be winning this one after stage 1. Adam had us covered on speed there. I knew he's good at Indy. I knew he was going to be fast, but beginning of the race, I'm like, okay, let him go out there, let me get some clean air behind him and save tires, and I never caught him. I never had the pace to catch him, even though I ran slower at the beginning of the run, and he did an amazing job, but I knew I had to do something different to him, and I saw the fuel mileage, I saw I can make that it's going to be faster than pitting. I got to hope that Adam doesn't do it. And Adam didn't do it, so that gave us our opening, and we made it work.
So in seeing that finish, we also saw the celebration there at the end, and I will repeat what I said at the time. And I say this all in 100% joking manner. You devious bastard, burning it down on the yard of bricks.
Yeah,
saving fuel on the cooldown lap as well to burn it down on the bricks of all things.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be close. I had oversaved for about half that run. I had like a quarter lap, half lap buffer, and then I lost it all passing Eddie Rose because I knew I had to drive harder to get through his dirty air, drive harder to get away from him. And then when I went back to saving, I thought I was going to run out, and I had to save a lot harder in those final few laps, and I had, I think, 1/10 of a gallon when I crossed the line. I'm just going to clutch it all the way around, going to make it all the way back, and have half a donut as I started sputtering, and made it just enough to do one full loop.
So you win here in the Xfinity Series. So fast forward in about 10 years, you're going to be fighting for $1 million over in the FLCC.
We'll probably not going to see that. I had my time in the Cup car, but I much prefer these Xfinity cars.
I also think that having the same career trajectory as Ty Dillon would be a little bit stressful for a man like you. And as someone who used to do race control for a pretty big multi-class sports car racing series, I look at you doing the race control stuff for the FLCC, and I give you my thoughts and prayers. But we're going to be heading off to Iowa in 1 week's time, Bryce. And what are your thoughts heading there?
Iowa will be interesting. It's the new layout at Iowa with the half repave. I love Iowa. It was always one of my favorite tracks. I'm a little bit disappointed that we did get the version because the old unrepaved version was an amazing racetrack. Hopefully we put on even half as good of a race there at the new one. But we'll have to go see how much we can move around, how much we can slide it there, and hopefully we'll have a fun time.
Yeah, swapping out the smooth asphalt here at Indy for the asphalt at Iowa, which is about as patchy as my face when I was 14. Bryson, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth, and congratulations on the win. And that right there was Bryson Ixenball, your winner at the end of this race. But Marty, that was really, really tense coming to the end of it. Final thoughts before we wrap things up here tonight.
Yeah, I did not think that these drivers could actually go 40 laps to the end without a pit stop. Very impressive. Great job by everyone in the top 8 of the field. And another big win for Bryson Hixenbach. Congratulations to him at an incredible track. And now we move on to Iowa next weekend for Friday Night Lights.
And, as I just said a couple of moments ago, and I will say it once again, Iowa's asphalt is about as patchy as my face when I was 14. That track is rough. It's bumpy. I would say it's even more bumpy than Chicago Street Course, which is really saying something. So those racers will have a test on their hands come time for that race in 1 week's time. And, of course, you'll be able to tune into all of the action here on Maconi Entertainment, broadcasting all of the races from this season here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Championship from now all the way through to the Championship 4 race at Phoenix on Halloween night. But as for this broadcast here, for race number 21 of this championship, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Marty Zakala joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll leave